My name is Miles. I run a small platform here in Paarl called The Village Guy. And last year during lockdown, a lot of people started asking me to post some of their new started businesses. And the reason why they started these businesses is some people were forced to start a business out of being retrenched, or some people just had a good opportunity to start their own business. So I also realized that there's a need for a platform in Paarl for entrepreneurs and business people just to come have a conversation, because I think being an entrepreneur can be a lonely place if you don't have a platform to discuss. Other areas have got nice platforms, so I just thought let's just have a conversation called the Paarl Business Lab. And what happens at the lab is I invite people from Paarl and Wellington that are businessmen, successful businessmen, entrepreneurs that are doing well in their sphere of business. And we just have a conversation, tell us about their journey, their business journey, and then afterwards people can have a conversation. So I don't want to say a warning, but these stuff are recorded because purely during COVID, not a lot of people want to come out, but fear of COVID. And also, I mean, if there are 10 people here, instead of just the 10 going away with some of the valuable lessons from the conversation, people can go onto YouTube and go watch the conversation as well. So nowadays, everything is online, so we just try and make it more accessible for everybody. So for the new faces, thank you so much for your time and welcome. And for the old faces, welcome again and thank you. So just by way of introduction, this is the 5th session. We've had other business people and business leaders come chat to us. And today's guest today, I'm sure some of you know him and some of you don't. So Karl Dahl is the MD of Paarlberg BMW and also of course Paarlberg Mahindra. Very interesting how our paths crossed. We just had I've got a small business, a jumper business, and we just had a small conversation about it. And I think I left there with probably one of the best conversations I had. I learned so much just from that. I mean, he gave me half an hour, but it lasted an hour because it was like I was just consumed with all the, how they say, the pearls of wisdom. So I just asked him, I think it was a bit selfish of me just to go home alone and just have that information. And I thought so many other small businesses or startups or entrepreneurs could probably learn from what he told me. And I thought, let me invite a few people and then we have a conversation. So, Mr. Dahl, thank you so much for your time. I know as business people, it's a 24-hour job, so I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, so I think off the bat, let's first just start. How has COVID-19 been for Karl Dahl and as a car sales company?
The day COVID was announced, I was at my beach house in up the coast, and I said to my wife, we were busy building another house in Paarl Valley, and I said, you can can the house, and this beach house we've got out of the question. And I started deciding which assets we were starting to get rid of, because that's how severe I thought it was going to be. We did one thing by accident. We didn't plan it at all. Or two things happened by accident. One, we decided to go completely mobile with our sales team. So our sales, all our staff are mobile now. They've all got laptops. They connect to all BMW systems. And this we got before we knew about COVID, because BMW launched a thing called a dealer sales platform or digital sales platform. And basically what that is jy kan 'n kar koop op die internet. Jy kan begin op 'n stadium moet jy sê by watter handelaar jy wil praat, of as iemand moet kyk na die inruil van die kar of wat ook al om gewees. We were overseas and BMW came to us and said, guys, we're going to have this digital sales platform. The first reaction that we had was, they're cutting us out. This is going to become a digital thing. Jy gaan nou kar op die internet koop and the dealer is dead. That was my feet. When I was in Lisbon, I sat there, I said, boys, we're dead in the water here. These guys are slowly eating away at our customer base. Because the first thing they said is they're taking the whole customer base over. I was lucky then to be taped for about 12 months. I was one of the 10 dealers that was chosen to to put this whole plan together. So BMW's idea just was that you buy the car from BMW South Africa, you take the haggle of the pricing, and I can get a better price down the road and trade in, and I'll give you a TV for nothing, and all this horse trading that goes on. Try and get that out of the way. And it also, and I'm not going to explain that whole part, it also forms part of their BEE structure as well, because it helps them in a certain way there. The bottom line for us was that we could, or I had an opportunity as one of the 10 dealers to have input into how to get this thing to work. Because BMW had this big plan, but when we started talking about, so what happens in a dealership and what's the customer, and what if the customer does this, what if the customer does that, etc. So we had a really good opportunity, and BMW were very conducive to letting the dealers play quite a big part in it. I told you earlier on, BMW got about 1,500, 2,000, close to 2,000 SAP guys at their head office, and they do all the support for the world. So they've got guys there that can fly rocket ships on a laptop. So they really got top-notch guys when it comes to IT and everything like that. So they put a platform together which is really, really shit hot. Dit werk regtig baie goed. Dit het in ons hand geval, want op my stadium toe begin COVID and ons kan nie praat met mekaar nie and so on. And what we found was, because our salespeople were mobile, and Robbie's one of our top sales execs, Simone is our general sales manager, we found that people had a lot more time to talk to us. So we would take them on this digital road, and the guy would be at home and he'd be slightly more relaxed, probably worried about what's happening to his business. But we found that a lot of our customers who normally just said, man, kry net 'n witte, maak klaar en kry die kar, ek haal hom volgende week. Ek het nie tyd om nou te goed uit te stuur die papiere. We found that we had a lot more time to talk to customers, and we had a record year at Paarlberg BMW, both from a profitability point of view and both from a unit sales profit point of view. The other thing which we also achieved, which I'm very proud of, we sell the most expensive unit per capita in South Africa. And that was quite a surprise to me, because I would have thought Santon, or, you know, I wouldn't imagine that in die Paarl verkoop ons die karre wat die duurste is. So ons verkoop nie die meeste karre nie, maar die karre wat ons verkoop ons die meeste. So ons verkoop baie M karre, X karre, meestal M en X karre. Ons verkoop ook van die kleiner karre, en het is nie dat ons wegbly van die mark af nie, dit is net wat ons mark wil hê. So ja, dit was vir ons, COVID was a blessing in disguise from that point of view, and it actually got the digital sales platform going much quicker, because we had to do it. There was no other way to do it, so everybody was under pressure to make it work even better. That was the one thing that I think that really played into our hand and helped us a hell of a lot. I think we had the upper hand on a lot of other dealerships. Yeah. If I look at other manufacturers, what sales they lost over that period of time, just to give you an idea, and I'm not dissing Toyota, I used to have Toyota as well. I was with the financial director this afternoon, the ex-financial director. They lost 10,600 units. Wow. And to lose 10,600 units out of your year production of sales, it's a big knock. It's a big knock off the bottom line, because that's probably like half to 3/4 of the bottom line of the company. And BMW were luckily didn't have that situation. So were we lucky? Yeah. I think it's luck. I believe in luck and a bit of planning, but we got through.
Yeah, and I saw, congratulations. So you got an award also in the week for the dealership. For, I think it was the BMW South Africa dealership.
Yeah. So we got an award with BMW, as you guys know or don't know. BMW has its own bank. En dis die ander ding wat vir ons baie help. Daar is 'n groot persepsie dat 'n BMW baie duur is. Want hulle kyk na die prys en sê 1 miljoen, 1.6, o hell, wie. And then they see the next door neighbor pulling in with a $1 million car, en dan kyk van die ou, het eers kos om geld om kos te koop, en hier kom hy met 1 $1 million car. Een van die redes is omdat BMW has got some really creative financial packages. And I mean, they've got, at one of our schemes that we were running were prime -5. So you're paying 2% interest rate on a car. Wow. Yeah. I mean, in my 42 years in the motor industry, I've never seen 2%. The great thing about it is that you're paying towards your capital capital side. So the bank plays a very big part in the BMW team worldwide, the company as BMW, but also at the dealership level. So the award that you're talking about now is, we won the Dealer of the Year award for 3 different sections. One was the overall Dealer of the Year. The other one was, the one that is the most important to me, is we've got the best retention in South Africa. And basically what that means is, mense wat terugkom na ons toe weer. And I mean, that to me tells me everything about the business. If you've got people coming back, they come back for a reason. They don't come back because they don't like you. They come back because they like you.
So let's talk about the 42 years in the motor industry. Was it one day you woke up, or when you woke up one morning and they said the dream is to have my own dealership, or just give us that journey of the 42 years? Where did it all start?
So when Whitey Basson owned no ShopRites, like in Zero, I worked for ShopRite as a cashier controller. That's the guy that, I mean, you go to, that doesn't happen anymore, but in the old days you used to go and then the girl used to make a mistake. Nou roep hulle die ou en dan kom hy met 'n sleutel en dan draai hy en dan tik jy daar soos en dan maak jy nou die sommer reg weer, dan gaan jy aan. That was my job. And then Whitey Basson, one night they said the shop must be spick and span. The new owner's coming to look at it. And this guy came walking down the aisle and I looked at him and he said to me, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm the oak with the key." And he said, "Okay, fine. And how come you here?" And chat. And that was the time when shops just opened to 9 o'clock. And that he came there at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. He then bought 3 stores and I worked part-time for him.
Maybe now in South Africa, which province?
No, in Durbanville.
Okay.
Bellville.
Right.
I grew up in Durbanville. Anyway, cut a long story short, I was going to go and work for him. I got a lucky break with a mate of mine in my 3rd year, got an interview with BMW South Africa, and I didn't get the job. And the guy said, "We're going to put you on the list. If we've got another opening, you know, we like you, but there's a more senior guy from Joburg that's got the job." And you kind of walk out and you think, "Yeah, everybody tells you that. You'll never hear from them again." And 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, they Lever Brothers phoned me and said, "You've got a job." I'd applied for a lot of jobs. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to take it." Cortina company car, I remember that part. I wanted a company car. I'd studied marketing for 3 years, so I thought I should have a company car. And then this guy from BMW came to me, Malcolm Adamson, and he said, "As miskien 'n kans dat ek vir jou 'n job kan kry in die streekskantoor in die Kaap." Toe sê ek, "Okay, fine, maar ek het nou die ander Lever Brothers job." Toe sê hy, "Jy moet nou besluit. Ek kan nie vir jou vir definitief sê nie." Anyway, I used to surf a lot in those days. I went surfing up the coast. My father phoned me and he said to me, nogal from the tikkie box, and he said to me, "Listen here, this Lever Brothers job, if you don't take this job and you don't get the job at BMW, you're out the house, you're gone. Die bakkie wat jy het is nie joune nie. Ek leen hom net vir jou. As jy te voet hier uitkom aan jou suitcase nie, ons het verby." I took a gamble and luckily we pulled it off and I got involved with BMW. I've always had a passion for car. I used to race motocross. I raced rally cars and things like that. So I've always had a passion for motor cars, but I didn't wake up one morning saying, "I want to be a car dealer or a car salesman." I got into it via a friend.
So I mean, so you work at BMW. So at what point do you decide this is where I want to own what I'm working for? I mean, how does that cross the mind?
So the first time I was the regional manager for the streeksbestuurder vir die Weskaap. So een van die handelaars was hier onder gewees, en daar was oom gewees in Karl Redlinghuis. As hulle daarna gimnasium saal toe gaan, hulle sien Redlinghuis saal, hy het daai saal gebou en om Karl owned the dealership en ek was sy streeksbestuurder gewees. Toe sê hy vir my, "Karl, stel jy nie belang om vir my te kom werk nie. Ek wil hê iemand hê om hierdie plek te run." Toe sê ek hom, "Karl, as ek na handelaar toe gaan, wil ek graag aandele hê." Toe sê nee, ek is nie bereid om vir jou aandele te gee nie. Sê ek, en ek het 'n title gekry nou daarso, was the National Parts Advertising and Marketing Manager. The title couldn't even fit on the door. It was about this long. I mean, salary wasn't much, but it had a hell of a title. And I got 2 company cars, that's I remember. And off I went to Joburg. So I said to him, if I can get aandele, but otherwise I'm off. So I went to Joburg, and I did reasonably well there. I was there for 6 to 7 years. I ended up as the marketing manager for distribution, um, which is really the guy who allocates the cars to the country and
Yeah.
what models go where and etc. And one day he just walked in and he said he's retiring, and he'll give me shares in the company. And he gave me 10%, and then I came to Paarl. And over time, he decided that he wanted to throw in the towel. We bought him out. In fact, part of the guy who owns this place is a shareholder in my company and one of my best friends, Donna Base.
Okay.
So Donna, when Karl stepped out of the throw, he was already 87 at that stage, but a very young 87. And then Donna came in, and that's how Donna and I became partners 27 years ago, I think, somewhere around there.
So I mean, so the day you go in and the owner of your own dealership, I mean, what's going through the mind?
The first thing you go in is, jy kom van die fabriek af, en jy is soos die fabrieksmannetjie wat nou vir die retailers, die ouens wat eintlik die karre verkoop, vertel jy nou vir hulle om het te doen, want jy het mos nou bemarking bestudeer en jy's nou by die hoofkantoor en die hoofkantoor weet mos alles, en spreadsheets en papiere en slomp wat hulle vir jou gee. And the first thing you worry about is all this nonsense that I've been preaching for the last 8 years. Is this actually gonna work? Because lots of times, even when you're telling the guy, you're thinking, I think I'm talking a lot of bullshit. So the one good thing that did work out, and I always said this, about 70% of what the factory preaches is right. The other 30% you can chuck out the door. It's a total waste of time. It's just the guy keeping the job alive and doing things like that. So daar was ek baie gelukkig geweest. Die ander ding met BMW is, en die belangrikste ding is verhoudings. As jou verhoudings reg is met die fabriek, ek sê dit elke dag vir Simone, vir Robbie, vir my span, as jou verhoudings reg is met die fabriek, you got to pay the king. That's the one thing. BMW sell parts and they sell cars. And that's blatantly, they won't say it to you, they'll say they love customers and that thing, but they sell parts and cars. And if you don't sell parts and cars, then they don't have any income. The services, they don't sell services. The services cost them money. So it's actually your motor plan that you have on the car, they have to pay us. So you don't even like that part. I'm being a little bit very open here now, but they don't really like that part because they've got to pay every time you bring your car for a service on motor plan. I claim from them and they give me the money back. So their game is to sell parts and services, parts and cars. And if you don't do your part, then you're not going to be in the game. So that's what I've always preached. If we give our part that we should to them, and when we do that and some, and we've won numerous awards and things, and we are the top selling dealer against Target, not again in unit wise. We're the top selling dealer against our Target, which everybody has a Target in the Western Cape, and probably in a lot of the bigger areas as well. But yeah, BMW, the one good thing about them is that if you pay the king, got good relationships, die ondersteuning wat jy kry en die opleiding is phenomenaal. They do not spare a cent. If they see potential in you, you promise you have an opportunity. So if any of you guys have got kids or people out there who can get an opportunity to get into the BMW fraternity in some way, and I'm talking from technician level, and guys, I promise you, I don't want to tell you here, but my technicians, if you hear what they earn, and I can tell you right here now, we calculated out what it cost to take a guy from college to technician level. It's 240,000 rand. That's what it costs us to get them to that level. We've got 4, so we got R1 million worth here in Paarl alone. And then the other guys that are at lower, going towards being what we call master technicians. But if you have a family or friends or whoever want to get involved with BMW from a training perspective, they are world class. And the support, if you do your job, is fantastic.
So how long are you the owner of the dealership in Paarlberg?
I've been there for 36 years, and I've owned it for 27.
So,
And we've also got a dealership in Worcester,
okay.
Worcester BMW,
All right.
and Worcester Mahindra.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about like the business, the businessman Karl Dahl. So, was there ever a time where you sat at Paarlberg and you said, you know, this is not for me. I'm done with this. There's too many problems.
About 15 minutes ago. Yeah. There are days, I mean, I think in anybody, you guys are all experienced business people. There are days where you think, is this worth it? I mean, you sit there and it's just like it's a never-ending one problem after another. But that it's enjoyable and that it's fun and that it's risky. The car business is a risky business. Jy kan op een transaksie 'n R250,000 fout net so maak. Jy kan 'n R250,000 fout op 'n trade-in of ons karre wat ons verkoop en verkoop kan jy mak gou en jy kan vinnig uitgevang word. En kliënte, as much as we love them to death, they aren't as honest as what we think they are. And he tells you that there's absolutely nothing wrong with this car. And then when you go through it properly, you see it's been panel beaten and fixed and everything like that and so on. So, yeah, it's a risky business. Many days you've thought about it. There's never been a day where I've felt like I want to throw in the towel. There have been days where I've thought, I think I could have done better somewhere else. I often thought maybe if Whitey and I became better mates, I'd be a lot better off. I'd be on my yacht already in somewhere else, but he was a hard taskmaster, so I think I'm better off by myself. But no, if you have a passion, and I have a passion for my business, if you have a passion for it, there are days that you don't want to go. There are days when you want to throw in the towel. Your single biggest headache that you've got is staff. Staff are the killer. Hulle maak jou mak, my maat, ek sê vir jou sê, dit is. And there's one thing that I can say, and I say it with respect to two of my staff members sitting here today. If I could have my life over again, and would I do the same? I would do the same. If I could choose or had to choose a different thing, I would do something where I was less reliant on people and more reliant on myself. Because that is the part that probably demoralizes you the most is staff. In the same breath, it's also the most encouraging thing to see when you got youngsters coming through and really performing well. I mean, we've got guys that have joined us. We've got one guy that joined us his dad actually came and asked us to give him a job, and he'll pay us and we pay him just so that he can work. And I said, no, it can't work like that. I said, he can come and be the dog's body here, and he can run around and put number plates on and gaan haal die goed by die kantoor and all daai tipe goed. And he did it for a few years, for a few months. And today he's our corporate sales manager, and he's the top corporate sales manager in South Africa.
Amazing.
So we've got a lot of, I said to you earlier on as well, I've got, I think, close to 32 technical guys working for me. They're all homegrown. Every single one of them we got out of college. En ons het almal deur hulle goed. Ons het nie een technicus of persoon gaan poach by 'n ander handelaar wat klaar sy all the training and stuff that we've done, including our workshop manager, from the bottom all the way up. So that's the kind of track that we've tried to follow, and it's worked for us. Or it certainly worked for me. And the nice part about it is to see the guys doing better. So you see the guys, look, in our business, it all goes about bucks, and especially on the sales side. And the guys make good money, and it's nice to see when they earn lots of money and they prosper and get better.
Okay, so let's talk about failure quickly. So, biggest failure, biggest mistake, and then what lessons were learned from it?
The biggest failure that I've had is to move outside of my area that I know. And that, what I did was, I opened a 4x4 center in Tiger Valley. En om besigheid te doen in die Paarl en Woester en om besigheid te doen in Bellville, Tygervallei, waar ook al jy nou Kaapstad, is heeltemal anders. En jy kan nie die twee meng nie. Daai ouens in die Kaap kan nie in die Paarl kom verkoop nie, en die Paarl se ouens kan nie altyd in die Kaap gaan koop nie. Die Paarl ou het 'n beter kans om in die Kaap te gaan koop, maar die Kaapse ou, ek praat nou van verkoopsmense, wat hiernatoe kom, hulle is dood in die water. Dit is heeltemal 'n ander way of selling. It's a much more gangster kind of business. You don't have to look anybody in the eye because there's so many customers. And that was probably my single biggest failure that I had in business. In fact, I closed it down. And one of the things that I should have done much quicker is to have realized it and said and closed it down before I lost the money I lost. I could have lost less. I should have closed it down quicker, but the one thing, and that's one thing that I try and teach people as well, be careful of your ego, because your ego keeps you up there, and as jy nou 'n winkel toemaak, dan sê almal, oh, Karl Dahl's besig om bankrot te gaan, and you think what the neighbor says, and worry about what everybody else says. Luckily, I'm past that stage, so I don't worry anymore.
So, how does Karl Dahl switch off? Or is there something like that for a business owner?
Yeah, no, I think that I listen to a lot of business owners talk and things like that, and people that think that we work like 24/7 from the morning till the night, and till our fingers drop off. It's not really like that. I think I have worked hard in my time. I work less hard now. To switch off, I do some mountain biking, I do fishing, I love F1, I love Moto3, motorbikes, GPs. I used to race myself, I don't anymore. I've done a few things. I've got a pilot's license, which is expired now. We do some diving, which my family have stopped me from doing because I dived myself into the ICU in the Dead Sea. So they've banned me from doing that now. So yeah, we have a lot of family time. My wife and I travel a lot. I'm in a privileged position that I've got a strong team of people that I can leave the dealerships to, and I can go away quite a lot, which is what I do. And then paar glasies pink of wit wyn is altyd goed vir die relax.
What's your definition of success?
My definition of success is that if you leave some kind of legacy that you've passed on to somebody else, and not necessarily to an individual, maybe like my daughter over here, but have passed on information to other guys, and they go ahead and grow and do better and become better, and maybe even go into their own businesses and become more successful than what we are, or that we think we are.
How important is it, or what's more important, chasing the money and making a business success, or creating relationships and building a business? That differentiation, how important is that?
The two have to go hand in hand. Jy kan also klomp lekker kliënte en niks geld hê, dan werk jy dan ook. So you got to try and balance out between what you're trying to financially make, because you got to get a fair return on your money, otherwise you can go put it in the bank. Yeah. But you also, on the other hand, have to have that relationship side with your customers and with your staff and things like that. So to me, the two go hand in hand. I think you can't say one. The one philosophy that we have, and that's why one of the reasons we won that award, and I believe we are a successful business, every single person that comes into Paarlberg BMW and buys anything from us, from a spark plug to a R3.5 million car, gets a telephone call, gets asked how the service was, and I've got a lady that reports directly to me. If any one of those customers are unhappy, We've got a code, we've got orange, green, and red. If it's marked red, I speak to that customer myself. This afternoon at 4:30, I had a guy 180 kilometers from Worcester, bought a Mahindra from us, and he's got a problem with his radio, and he was marked red. I got on the phone, I handle that customer complaint myself, and I don't go and fix the radio, but I follow that complaint through, and that's one of the things that everybody will tell you in our place. When a Kazi has got a problem, we drop everything, en ons doen alles wat ons kan om dit reg te doen. Ons word baie keer trek hulle ons broeke 'n bietjie af en ons verloor, maar you know what you lose on the swings, you'll make on the roundabout. So the one or two that rip you off, you got to take that with it. The advantage that you get out of the other 90% or 98% that don't rip you off and that think that you've done a great job, you get that business back. And that's what I think any business is. You know, in a restaurant, you want the guy to come back every time. And that's why that retention to us is so important. It's for me the main thing.
Why Mahindra as alternative brand?
Wat vir my aantreklik was vir my Mahindra was een, die prys, en tweedens die reliability. En derdens die area verantwoordelikheid wat hulle vir my gegee het. So ons het die hele area aan daai kant van die berg en ons het die hele area aan hierdie kant van die berg behalwe vir CYC en CA. Dis ons area verantwoordelikheid. And why do I say that? We don't have a guy walking in to Mahindra and saying, luister, Stellenbosch sê hulle gaan vir my dit gee. Robertson sê vir hulle gaan dit, want daar is nie Stellenbosch en Robertson. Yes, there's a bit of a challenge from a servicing point of view, but the dealers don't cut themselves up. So they've made a conscious decision to have dealers in strategic areas and make sure that they don't have too many, because you can't always be everything to everybody. And as long as they stick to that philosophy, that was one of my main reasons for moving towards. Because in theory, you can buy a workhorse Toyota bakkie. It probably cost you between $450 and $550, and you could buy an equivalent car from us between $250 and $290. So you nearly just call it 60%. Nou, wat ek altyd vir my manne sê is, moenie gaan na die eienaar van die plaas toe wat 'n Land Cruiser ry en vir hom sê, luister oom, jy nie 'n double K, jy het Mahindra koop nie. Ek moet sê, boeta, nie meer nonsens praat nie man, dis mos nou nie. Maar die voorman, die produksiesbestuurder, nou kan daai boer kan nou 2, ons het nou 5 gister 5 verkoop. En die ou het gesê, wie wat ek kan nou vir my 5 bestuurders elkeen 'n nuwe kar gee. In die ou dae het ons nou nie groot oom se kar, gee dit vir die seun gee dit. By the time it gets to the foreman, it's got 1,200 trillion kilometers on. Die wiele hang al so en hy moet nog gelukkig wees daarmee. Nou gee hulle 'n kans vir hulle om op 'n redelike koste kan hulle vir hom 'n kar gee. And I think affordability, especially in South Africa, is going to have to be important. The other thing that I like about Mahindra is that it's made in India and it's not made in China. I don't like the way the Chinese people do business. That's my own opinion. It's made in India, and the other big thing is that their safety record. They're the only small car that's got a 5-star Euro safety record in the Southern Hemisphere. So that from that perspective, voel ek gerus as een van my BMW kliënte kom en sê, luister Karl, ek soek vir my kind 'n kar wat Stellenbosch toe gaan. Wat stel jy voor? Dan gee ek vir hom 'n blikkie en stuur hom daar aan die arme kind, drink 'n paar dop en ry daar aan 'n boom vas en dan is die kar plat nie. So from that perspective, that's the reason why. And to also vary our business to a certain extent as well, take on a new challenge. And it's been very successful. India's been hit very hard by COVID, but the production's starting to come through again, so we're very happy about it.
Okay, and then the last two, so what's the big dream? What's the Dahl big dream?
It's a 58-foot Dahl recorder catamaran, and they build them in Cape Town.
Okay. Okay. And the value of that is?
Quite a lot of money.
Okay, then just the last of Best BMW production car, and what's your dream car?
The best production and most balanced car that we've got is an X5 3-liter diesel. Hands down. Out of any cars we've ever had since the box-shaped BMW, sal julle onthou daai klein karretjie wat uitgekom het. That car has been the most consistent and to me the most balanced car. Why do I say that? Jy kan met hom vanaand met ma na die opera toe gaan en jy kan môre gaan jag in Suidwes met hom. En jy voel nie uit nie. Voel nie asof jy met 'n plat kar op 'n grondpad ry nie en of jy nou by die opera stop kom jy nou met 'n bakkie daar aan nie. So that's a very versatile car. I think that is probably our most versatile car. My dream car, it's funny when you're in the car business, you don't I watch these guys now. The M4 just came out. There's one outside, is there? Now Simone drives this M4. Met daai karre aangaan, hulle gaan soos kinders wat 'n tweede Kersfees gehad het. Maar ek sê dis mense, dis net nog 'n kar. Yeah, but look at this and it's got 500 kilowatts and soveel horsepower en ek weet nie wat alles en so en ek weet nie selfde van die goed nie. So I don't really have a dream car. I like driving certain cars. I like driving an X7 if I do a long trip, and I currently drive a 850M, which is also a very nice car. Not practical from a family perspective. Obviously, it's a sports car, but a X7 is a very, very practical, nice, big car.
So for the young entrepreneur and the young businessman, what are the 3 most important factors or criteria or personalities required to be successful or to make your business happen?
The first thing that I think you got to do something that you like. Don't mess around with something that you're saying to yourself, I'm getting bucks and I'm making a lot of money, but I don't like it. Because that soon wears off. And I've seen many of my friends and colleagues be in that position. They hate what they do, but they're making the money and their lives become miserable. I love cars. I love my business. I love the interaction. I like the golf days. I like all the racing we go to and all that type of thing and so on. So we've got a saying, which is a joke amongst us, we live the dream. And when we live the BMW dream. Wat vir my gatse deksel is dat ek nou eendag 'n ete gehad met 'n groot kop van die bank. Toe vra hy vir my, wat kan ons vir jou doen? Toe sê ek vir my, wat die snaakste van alles is, wanneer jy uitgaan en jy 'n besigheid begin, en jy's nuut, en jy het 'n goeie idee, en jy het goedspe, en jy weet, jy kan 'n sukses, en jy kan praat met die ou, en jy kan sien, as hierdie ou net die regte breek kry, gaan hy dit maak. And then the bank says, well, bring your 5 million rand house, unbonded, and then we'll lend you 2 million rand. Now that to me is not banking. That's running a pawn shop. Because you're bringing 5 million to get 2.5 million. They just don't take any chances with any youngsters. And I don't know why. So for me I don't know how a young person, if you were now a young guy and said, I'd like to have a BMW dealership, I'd like to have a Toyota dealership, I don't know how in the world you'll ever be able to get the capital to be able to do it. But funny enough, and now this is also going to sound smart, and I'm not trying to sound smart, wanneer jy dit nie nodig het nie, wil hulle vir jou alles gee en nog verniet en there's no bank charges and everything. Ek sê, nou julle gee dit nou vir my. Julle moes dit vir my gegee 27 jaar terug, dan was ek baie beter af gewees as wat ek nou is. Nou wil julle vir my alles gee. Die ding is vir my is dit verkeerd om. And that's, to me, I think is the biggest challenge for a youngster is and my advice to you just get a mate in the bank that's got some pull that you can get a wangle your way in there, because without doing that, that to me is probably the single biggest challenge in South Africa. To try and, especially when you've got a great idea, and you don't always have people. Remember, people in South Africa are careful at the moment. There's so many other risks now go out with some youngster and going back him as well. You got a whole lot of other yakkalsies here that you're worried about what's going to happen and what's going to happen here and who's going to be the president and who's not going to do this and that, etc. That's a very, very difficult thing that I think for youngsters to start up. And I don't I don't know how they do it. I don't know how young guys today and girls today actually start a business. Dis 10 keer moeiliker as 100 keer moeiliker as toe ons besigheid begin het. En ons daar het jy wagon wheels toe gegaan, bankbestuurder daar gesit, rooiwyn uitgehaal, sê hom Karl vir hom, "Oud, leen vir hom 5 miljoen rand." Yes, Karl, hy kan nie, as jy nie 5 miljoen rand vir hom leen nie, vat ek my besigheid weg vir jou. Nee, Karl, ons kan nie. Nog wyn. Okay, net hierdie een keer. Okay, fine, nog wat ons. And that's genuinely how it happened. Today, I just look at the hoops that you have to jump through to start a business in South Africa, and we be busy with a whole lot of other things that are totally irrelevant, as opposed to actually creating an atmosphere where it's easier to start a business and that the banks take a chance. Now, I said to this guy from the bank, I said, you know what? He said, what could we do? I said, you know what you guys must do? Kyk, as jy uitgaan om te eet met die bank, hulle noem ons 5 kliënte, dan bring 5 van hulle. Dan bring ons altyd, want die hoofman sit in hierdie kant van die tafel, en hulle bring 5, one-on-one all the time. They wouldn't be outnumbered. Sit ons daar so, toe gaan hulle so om die tafel, toe sê die ou vir my, he's the jockey of the bank, he said, wat stel jy voor? Toe sê ek, hierdie 5 streeksbestuurders wat hier sit, ek sê, laat elkeen van hulle 5 mense kies. They must choose 5 people. I said, and you back those 5 people, and you hold them accountable to those 5 people. And in my opinion, those 5 people, one oak's going to go to the wall completely. He'll hit the wall within 6 months. You would have spent all the money. So you lost. And I'm generalizing it putting it very plainly. But that's what I honestly believe they need to do. But they don't do that. They, as I said, they say to you, you want to lend money? Yes. Well, bring 10 million, and then we'll lend you 5 million. Doesn't help anybody.
And then lastly, is a showroom dealership, is there going to be place for it in the future?
Yes, I do think so. There are people's natural instincts. There's certain things about a smell of a car, the feel of the car, en mans veral sal daar verstaan wat ek nou van praat. En ek kyk nou met ons kliënte, ons gaan die internetroete tot op 'n punt. En dan wil hy net gesels oor die kar. En hy wil met iemand praat wat nie 'n komputer is en wat vir hom YouTube wys en wheel spinning and stuff like that and so on. And I believe that part, I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think that came from, probably the horse oaks that sold horses in the old days. They said when the car business comes, then the horse salesman is going to be dead. Now, the horse salesman just became a car salesman, and vice versa. So I don't believe that. I can say with certainty in BMW's planning going forward, and I'm talking about their 10-year plan forward. They have no illusions about their retail partners. They feel very strongly about the retail partners, and that there's a space for them. So then everybody says, yeah, but what about Elon Musk? He's the richest oak in the world, and he's never made a profit ever, except for one quarter when he sold the credits that he got for the electric cars. So ek weet nie hoe sy somme werk nie, but he's got a magic touch. I wish I had one, because he just tweets something and then he just doubles his money overnight. That's the kind of business I want to have. So he's got this model that he won't have any dealers. The problem that they had is the first 2,500 S's that went out, they had a recall. So a recall is, hulle bou 'n kar en die een pypie val af elke keer. So we have recalls often on cars. You have it today still. Sometimes you bring it in for service. We do a recall. You don't even know it's been done. Okay. Sometimes we phone you and say, listen, jy moet inkom, ons moet die pypie vasmaak, whatever. And they had a recall. And then the popo hit the fan, because the other guys now sitting, they can't, where do they go? Back to the factory. Or do they phone, tweet Elon Musk and ask him? The other guy's sitting, waarheen moet ek nou gaan? Now you start sending it to other outside people to repair. And then you start giving your customer away to somebody else. So I honestly believe that the retail arm, and so too, even with the whole e-economy. If you look at a place like Yappie Chef, is a good example, I think. Yappie Chef went big on the internet and now are going big into stores. And they're realizing that when I want to buy that vase over there, I see it on the picture. The guy shows you, tells you what size, tells you the whole specification. But I want to see the vase, I want to touch it, I want to hold it, I want to show my wife, and I want to compare the price or whatever it may be. So I don't think there'll be I think there's a future for retail. Definitely a future.
Paul, thanks so much.
Thanks.
I think it was valuable. I'm sure some people also learned a few lessons from you. Yeah, good luck with the catamaran. How long is that going to take? Yeah, and yeah, just thank you for your time.
It's a
so we'll
pleasure.
chat again. So,
Thank you, guys.